Why this lecture? I know from many encounters with artists and people who have to write applications that they are not always good feelings about it. Yeah, for some say for them it's a black box. They don't know really what's happening. You feel dependent on that somebody else is deciding about your project and about your work, etc. And I would say, from my perspective, if you look at it as a game and if you look at it as a strategic game, then you could, well, shift it, and it's creative work you can do, and you can invest all your ideas, and that's what we are going to do. I'm trying to change your perspective on this today a bit, for this I prepared this little program. You have it in your papers. So we are going to talk, you find it here. If you get lost, then you look where we are. We talk about the change of perspective. How do funding bodies function? Then we look at a bit theoretical point about how to work with objectives. Then we look at how to create relevance for your project in the application. And then we are coming to writing an application. We have there several examples. We look at project funding, we look at residencies, we look at research funding, etc., which is meaning that for one project you can combine different fundings and how to do that. Then we have a closer look how to understand calls for proposals, because that's important for you to prepare this work. And then we have a little sidekick, fishing in foreign waters, to look where else we can find some money for our project. Well, and in the end, it's the conclusion, how to put together a strategy for your application for raising money for your project. All right, so everybody there, we can get started?
Yeah. Yes.
Great. From which perspective I'm talking to you this morning? Well, when I started my career, I was very bad at writing applications. And between two jobs, I had the time to make an extra job training as EU fundraiser. And this really changed my mind about it, because when you work with EU projects, you have to find arguments for every little decision you do in your project. And I think it's a very good idea to transform this strategy into applications for art, because then you are coming a bit away from this situation that you feel, well, I don't understand really what funding bodies are doing, and I'm working with my ideas, but what do they think, what do they expect from me, etc. So we look at how to transform your ideas into an argumentation, because what's then the aim is you are creating relevance for your project, and that's what we need, you know, for them to have a positive decision about your application. You need to create relevance. So, change of perspective. Number one, how do funding bodies function? How do they think? And, well, yeah, what's important for them? Funders or funding bodies, institutions, they want to change the world. That's why they are there, yeah? That's their only purpose. They have money in their back, and they want to realize projects to change something. And every funding institution has a purpose why they are existing. So they have an aim, like In art, it could be, well, to finance emerging artists, their first projects, to put them in a situation that they can start their career, right? And as this is also a formal entity, a formal body, you always can find, oh, sorry, that's my sugar rate. I put this off. Yeah, diabetes is not so good, but yeah. Funding bodies, yeah, sorry. You can always find why they exist in their, well, it's on their website, sometimes it's already in their name, what they stand for, so they have aims, they have goals, they have objectives, why they exist, and why they give money to people like you. And from their perspective, it's not that they are the kings and they can just distribute something. They want to realize their objectives and they are looking for partners. So you can believe or understand yourselves as partners for them if you propose something, because you are going to help them to realize their objectives. Next one. A little theoretical thing about objectives in general. Please look here at this scheme with a triangle, this pyramid. It's the hierarchy of objectives and also visualization of how projects function in relation to reaching project goals. And this is settled here as on the bottom you see the central project activities. That means that a project is divided into several parts. In artistic project, for instance, you have your rehearsals, you have the set design, you have sound, music, etc. Also advertisement, PR, administration, everything. All these are central project activities for your project, and in a whole, if you realize every of these little sub-projects, you have a result, and all these results together, they are the project result or the project goal, that you realize your project, your production. Sorry, this word was missing. So that you realize your production. This is what you can do. You have influence on what you are going to do with your project, and you can reach your project goal. In this hierarchy, here is one goal above. It's this overall objective here. What is this? This is something what could be reached only in common by several projects or several partners. Later, this makes sense when we talk about objectives of funders, because when you understand and when you define these overall goals and objectives, that these are the objectives of the funders, then you see a clear line from your project activities to the project goal, that this is helping to realize the goal of the funder. And you read this always from the bottom to the top, like I said. And in this hierarchy, you can see that you have influence on the goals of the funders, right? Remember, you are the partners, you help them to realize their objectives, and that's a bit a visualization of this thing.
Objective, you just asked because I never used or heard this word before. Is it like a synonym for goal?
Yes.
Okay.
Objective, goal, that's the same.
Okay.
By the way, I forgot to say, if you have questions, please interrupt me. Yeah, it's the best to speak about it at the moment where it appears, then we won't wait until the end. Creating relevance. Like I said, it's you are getting relevance for the funders if they can see that their objectives, their goals, are realized by your project. And for sure, you don't have a guarantee if you write an application that you are getting the money. But what you can reach is that you at least land in the section for the jury members on the section yes when they are going to a discussion. This should be your aim, your goal, when you write an application, that you at least land in this section, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to invest so much time, etc. Please focus on these occasions and calls where you think that you are having a chance. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense just to send your concept or whatever. We are looking at this later a bit more detailed, but that's important. Invest your time only in the right proposals. And it begins at formal criteria. So very important, formal criteria you have to fulfill always 100%. Because, yeah, you know about this, if you don't fit them, you will be not part of the discussion of the jury. What I said is, for creating the relevance, the best is to have a text which is structured like an argumentation. You start here, and because I'm doing this, I get this, because of this, I'm having this, and etc. And this is from the start of the argumentation to the end to fulfill your goal, the production, and also with the production to reach the goal of the funders. And imagine you always, you always have to have a reason for everything. I was once sitting in a jury, and that was very funny because this colleague I saw on his papers, and he always was writing there on the paper only the word why. And in the end, well, he was then saying the more whys he has to write on the paper, the less quality this application has. And he was right in the end when we saw the decision of everything, where the less whys appeared, these were the best projects. So you have to have a reason, you have to find reasons for your decisions, and you have them, right? You know, when you want to collaborate with a dancer or with a performer or a musician because of something, you can use this as argumentation for your proposal. All right. So, yeah, examples could be, because I'm using audio description in my performance, I'm also realizing the goal of the funder to support inclusive performances, or by focusing on a topic like the waste of resources in fashion. I am helping the funder to raise awareness of the topic of sustainable way of life, for instance. And very important, please make in your argumentation this clear links to the funder's goals, because what's not written is not said. That's also very important for your texts. Why is a good concept not, or why is a good concept only part of the job? I know from the collaboration of with artists that there's always or often a misunderstanding about the concept and the application itself. So the application is something different than your concept. For me, I would say that a concept is something more for you, more for yourself, to have a compass for what do you plan for your project, what is important for your project, what do you want to realize. This is for you to know then, when it's coming to writing applications, to build up your argumentation and to then put out of your concept the things into the argumentation which is important for the funder. So you have your little concept there with all the ingredients, and then what is needed in the argumentation, what should be in the focus, what comes in the context, what is not so important but worth mentioning. All these components you put out of your concept and put it then into the application. That's very important for the idea of what is what. So your concept should be there before you start writing applications, maybe already before you start researching what funding do I want to apply for, etc. Sorry.
Of like what is concept and what is application, because like the concept. Sorry. Could you please give an example of like what can be a concept and how would you transform it into the application?
Yes, we're doing this in the next.
Okay.
In the next thing. Well, not with a super concrete example, but let's see how I can answer your question about this. Maybe imagine for you it's very important to work together with one performer coming from abroad, which is not living in your city, even not in your country. But the funding says that it's concentrated on artists, or it's there for artists from the region or maybe from the city. And then you can put into the application that the other colleagues are coming from your city, it's not a problem, and that you are giving more input to this group coming from one person coming from outside, but you don't put in the application in the focus that this person is super important for you. This could be there, but in written in the text you say the team is more or less all from Munich, for instance, and with one people coming from abroad, and this could be, well, this could be something like this. All right. to have enough time, well, to put this lecture together. Normally I use 4 hours for this, so we are rushing through everything. For an idea, I was putting together what should be part of the concept. No guarantee for completeness, but I think for concepts, you have already an idea, you were working with it, and well, yeah, that's another topic and another workshop, sorry. Now let's start with project funding itself, because that's what normally everybody is doing, and I think that the regulations for it are nearly the same, well, in whole Europe. There it's important that you describe your project, so this is not very far from your concept. Your concept must be the main part of it, because you are presenting the whole project and you want to have a premiere and you want to realize the production. Normally this funding is the biggest part of the budget what you can get with it, project funding from bodies like the city or the region, or from private funders, institutions, but project funding is always important, that you put everything which is linked to the project there. Well, when we compare this with applying for projects from other sectors, there it's very easy, because you look where are the needs, what is not there at the moment, where's a lack of something, and how can I, with my project, fill into this gap. When it's coming to art, it's not that easy, because art is already there, and well, the world is not lost if you don't realize your project, but there is a trick. You can start your argumentation, because that's what we want to do, that we have an argumentation and create this relevance, etc. You start with your motivation. And your motivation could come from that this project is the result, or this proposal of a project, this plan of the project is the result of work I did before. This could be that you have realized the project with the same topic, and now you want to focus on one aspect or whatever. Or you have, well, you have had the chance to work with somebody else and you are very inspired because of blah, blah, blah. There's the because. And you find always this reason, this personal motivation could be the best starting point, from my opinion, to write an application, because then there's no doubt that this is replacing the need in other argumentations, yeah? There you start.
On average, like, how long would this application be traditionally that you've seen, application lengths, kind of length are they?
That's a very good question, thank you. Yeah, so I think for huger projects around, well, from 60 to 120,000, I would say, around this, you have normally the space for 10 pages. That's my experience if you look at funders. Some funders say, please, here's a form and you have to squeeze everything in. Well, then you are limited to the number of characters. But, well, normally it's 10 pages, I would say, everything together. Okay, start, yeah. But for your project, normally it's not sufficient to have only one, or to write only one application, unfortunately. Normally you have to combine different fundings to one budget, right? And as I said, well, normally you have 1 or 2 chances to hand in an application for the whole project, but then you have to find other ways to finance the project because the money will not be enough to cover all the costs. But there are many possibilities for you to find this funding. So this could be a research funding, this could be residencies, etc. What does this mean for writing an application? We remember, or you look at this pyramid and triangle, you see that you have to create relevance, you want to build up an argumentation. But here it's not the project in the focus. When it's coming to residencies, then, for instance, your need is that you need space to realize your rehearsals, or for other fundings, for research, you need time or some other resources to invest to do a research. Maybe you have to meet someone, to make an interview, to make several interviews. You have to, well, travel because of you want to work about, well, I don't know, pictures of Picasso, and then you have to travel to the museum of Picasso and to see the his paintings, etc. So all this could be part of this research or of these residencies you have to apply for. And this is changing the focus of your application.
Yes. Is it relevant to mention in an application if you've already received funding from another body?
Sorry, can you speak a bit louder?
Is it relevant to mention in your application to a funding body if you've already received funding from a different institution? And do you have to justify that to them? And why? You have to, is budget relevant? Like, how detailed should your budget be in your application?
So the answer is a bit complex. Sorry that normally I didn't worked about budgets. For some funders, it's important to see the whole budget of everything, and for them, it's a very good sign if other funders engage your project by giving you money. They want to know everything. For other funders, it's very important that you realize their project, and they only want to know, okay, you need this sum, and this is it. So there's no clear answer to it. But for you, you know, for working for your budget, this is extremely relevant that you know how much money you will have to, well, cover all costs. Does this answer your question? Okay, great. So combining several fundings. There you see you have different goals, different objectives for getting this money. Like you have to do a research, you have to have a rehearsal space, and well, also that you can be there for a certain moment of time, etc., with your team. So the focus of the argumentation should be that, and your project you are planning is becoming the context of it. So this shows that you have to write a different text. You can't send the text you were formulating for the project funding to someone who is there to finance your residency or your research. That's very important because, well, funders see this often, that artists want to participate also in this call, and they just send their material. That's the waste of time, because you have very, very little chances by doing only this to be selected. Then please leave it out.
Could you repeat maybe what you just said? Like what is important to
if to just know what the call is about and focus on their goal, like what we talked about before.
So you always look, you find on the website or on the call for proposals what is important for the funder. And then you look what brings relevance to this point from your project. This could be in the topic you are working with. You have an inclusive team. That means, well, people with disabilities and people without disabilities are working together. And for a funder, this is an important value to have this. Then you strengthen this. If this is not the case, you look at something else, what could be there. Could be also a society relevant question. You're working about, I had this idea of, of the waste of resources in fashion, and then you could focus on questions of sustainability, etc. This is always depending on what is the idea of your project, and this creative work I was mentioning before in the introduction. That's your work, to find these arguments. Why do I think that I'm the right person, the right proposal for this funder? Does this answer your question? Okay. So, we are good in time. I want to look at you now for or how to understand calls of proposals. And on the second page of this little handout, you find two examples. And I would like to invite you to read them through. And well, there's one good example and one bad example, or one helpful example and one not so helpful example, and let's talk about it when you have read it. All right, do you think we can start? Everybody ready? Yeah? Cool. So the first one is about a grant for people, for dancing people in Berlin. The second one is for a residency in Essen, also in Germany, at Pakt Zollverein. Let's first speak about the first example of this scholarship. Yeah, what is your impression about it? Is it informative? What do you think? Do you feel like applying for it? What is your idea about it?
Pretty clear what they're looking for. So for me, it would be easier to find arguments because the questions are already asked. And I think the second one is really open, which is nice maybe because more people have the possibility to apply, but then it's like hard to find arguments why they should fund me. So yeah, for me it would be easier to apply to the first one maybe.
Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly my impression. I think you all have the same idea about this. I copied this one from the Berlin because these key questions you could need for your work. It's very rare that you have these clear and good questions in applications. I think it's very good from them to have this. And well, we talk about Pakt later. I was writing an application for an artist for this call, and it's always a good idea to make a phone call to the people who are responsible for these calls for proposals. Because here in the text you find something which in the first reading maybe is not that important, but it's the relationship of the people they want to support they have to Berlin itself. And when I was calling there, they said to me that it's the most important thing for this application is to explain the relationship of the artist I was writing about to other Berlin colleagues, how he is in a network with others, how he's engaging for projects in Berlin, etc. So this also is an example for sometimes you have an idea about what they want to know and what is important for the application. But I think it's always it's always a good idea to have a personal contact to someone, because there you get extra information, what is, well, not exactly written here. And then you could, well, you have better chances for sure. Right, and also the structure of it is very clear, yeah, to whom is it addressed, what is the purpose, why is the funder here, the city of Berlin, giving money to artists, etc. That's very clearly explained. And well, you keep these questions if you're working for other applications, maybe where these applications are not there the case. And what is very interesting, here they are also asking about your situation in what you are to start this residency or this scholarship. And remember, when I was recommending you start with your motivation, it's more or less the same idea, that it's always because you are proposing this project, it's for them very interesting to understand who you are and why, here's the why again, why you're doing this. Well, and here, the second one, when I was sitting in the train coming here to Munich, I was once again looking at this Pakt Zollverein call. Now they changed it. For years, they had on their website this same call only with these little information, and yeah, it's absolutely not helpful. I think the idea is really to have it open enough that everybody who wants to apply can apply, but if they say you have to find a relationship with our values and our program, and it's not written there, what does that mean? And I was very carefully looking in the former calls, also on the website, there was nothing written about this. So they also, you can understand here, it's not written, but you can understand they want you to call and to get in contact before you write the application. And for me, when I did this for one artist who is in contemporary circus, and when I was speaking to them, it was very clear that this is not worth applying because they're looking for somebody else. So, well, it was saving some money and some time in this case. Other questions?
Yes, how extensive was the application, for example, for the first one? Like, was it also 10 pages?
Yeah, that's a standard. Berlin has, for everything, they have 10 pages. Don't ask me why, but yeah. But these 10 pages include everything. That when you also have CVs for the participating artists, etc., this has to be squeezed in. And well, it was for the scholarship, which is a few thousand euros, or it's if you apply for 1 million points something, it's always these 10 pages. I don't know.
Could you point it a bit more down how it was, like how many pages or percent was the argumentation and then the CVs, just to get an idea of it? And then would you also like include the budget already?
So the budget is not part of, it's a text, it's only text, these 10 pages. The budget is extra. Well, if you know the space you have for your text, and you then have maybe a huge project, like a festival or something, then it's clear you have to have an argumentation on a very high level. Then you can't go into details. That's more work because you have to squeeze many informations into this. If you have these 10 pages for one project, you have the chance to put more whys or more becauses. Like I said, to explain your reasons why you are doing this and that. If funders give these spaces, you can expect that all the other artists or other people applying also use the whole space for doing something. So normally if you have write 10 pages, write 5 pages, write 10,000 characters, etc., then more or less try to use this. And yeah, I would always, well, use this space, and it's a question of how many on which level do I have to have my argumentation. Are there other questions? Yes.
Is it usually better to present a squeeze text or a long one in case this is not specified? Because I think this happens a lot of times, and I never know if it's better to be like coincide or if to just like write a lot.
When you write, well, you have this space, these 10 pages, and they don't do other requirements for the text, then I would say you start with a summary of everything, that you have around 500 characters, 700 characters, where you describe the whole project. My idea is I want to work with, and it should look like this. And then you start again to describe it more precisely, with more details. I think that's the best. But when it's now coming to most of the applications, they want you to do an abstract of what you're going to do, and then you have a more detailed text. If they don't ask for this, I would do the same. Yeah.
In terms of the voice that you use through text,
Yeah.
is it more important to be formal and use that argumentation in a formal way, or do you think is it also relevant to try to fill in your personality through the text and be less formal? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you. I never thought about this. So my first answer is, with a very good application, you get money for a bad idea. And for a good idea with a bad application, you get no money. So this could be one part of the answer. But coming to this personal question, I think when you are very close with yourself and you write a text, you could more use this motivation, and you could better transport why it's important for you, and to work with this detail, and why it's so important to have this travel with the whole team to this museum, to be there in front of the paintings of Picasso, etc. I think when you want to have this as a result of your proposal, it's very good to have a very personal writing of why do you plan this project. If you have a project which is not so much linked to one personal idea, then maybe it's better to have a formal text to really follow these components, that it's clear, I am having this idea, I'm working with this technique to generate this movement material, and I want to work with two motifs which are representing my idea, etc., I think then it's better to use this language, that one thing is coming out to enable the other. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right. Fishing in foreign waters. It could be. Sometimes it's not easy, or unfortunately, often it's not easy to find money out of the dance funding, but it is possible. One example could be that you have a topic you are working on, and other funders are engaged in this topic too. Could be, well, like environment, inclusion, well, you name it, yeah, could be everything. Or you look in funding for, well, other things. One example is, now it's an old production, I think 12, 15 years ago when, or 20 years ago, yeah, when smartphones were new, and also to have these applications on the smartphones, etc. Fabien Préauville in Düsseldorf, he was realizing a project, a smartphone project, and that was an interaction with the audience, etc. Today we say, everybody knows about it, but at that time it was new. And what I'm wanting to say is that he was able to raise money from the Fraunhofer Gesellschaft, who normally only gives money to mathematics, to, well, everything with computers, to physics, etc. But he was able to convince them, or to find arguments out of his project, why it's also interesting for them as funders to support an art project. And this could be an example. Well, when you have interesting topics to look which foundations or private institutions have fundings for them, then it's normally clear that you can't follow a normal call for proposals. Then you have to contact them out of everything, and then you propose something. That's why, by the way, it's important to have your concept, because then you can say, okay, I have a clear idea. I also have the chance to get money, to get funding. It's not enough. Please support me, and I see your goal. Your goal is my goal, and we can do something together with this project. Is possible. And when I'm saying you're normally out of this application procedure, then it's normally the case that you say, okay, I see this certain thing, a research about sustainability or whatever, as a sub-project of mine. And this sub-project, only a part of my concept, I'm proposing to this funder, and mostly then they don't need to engage with the rest of the project. For sure, they want to know what's coming out of it, and they are interested in the production, etc. But for everything which is linked to budget, to administration, etc., for funders who are out of your normal dance or art context, for them it's the best that you propose them. It's an extra project which is part of this whole one, and then it's easier for them. Are there questions?
But when you say this, like, this is an extra project which is part of this whole one, this is also like then how you communicate it. Like, for example, if one...
That was in relation to this funder, like the Fraunhofer or whatever, that you say to them, when we work together, for sure for you, it's part of the whole production, And also for the Fraunhofer, it's important that they have the production with their sub-project in it. But when it comes to budget and to administration, then normally these funders don't want to have, when you have the numbers in the end and everything, they don't want to prove what you pay the dancers and how you pay for the advertisement, etc. They only want to know what is about this development of this application, for example. And that's why I'm saying for them it's always easier to propose a sub-project. Okay, so 2 minutes. Well, we have seen that application is a strategic game, that your concept is not the application, your concept is the source for them, for your argumentation to build it up, that it's always important to link with the funder's objectives and goals. You do this by argumentation, and you use your concept as a compass to put also different fundings together, where you always can find the components and you regroup them in your argumentation to fit with the funder's links, with the funder's goals. And to realize this, well, the key to it is time management and research. Imagine normally for realizing a project with these different fundings, etc., I would say it's at least 10 months, could be 18. So for bigger projects that you know, I have to develop the details for example, when I'm applying for the composition for my production, for instance, and it's only this, that one funder is only financing this, then you have to talk to the composer before, etc. And all this has to be planned as time. You have to know at this time, and this time I have to hand in the application. And for doing the application, I have to know that, etc. So it's a strategic game, and it's time management and research you have to do. Full stop.
So is there a website that you can recommend us where they include all different fundings application, or do we find them separately?
You're asking this for which country? Here starts the problem.
The UK, but maybe...
So I know this for Germany better. There are some websites. So here comes the problem with the websites. There were several in the past. They started, and then at a moment they stopped because it's very huge work to have this at an actual level. Well, you find these, normally I think you get the best information for this dance bureaus, Tanzbüros, and dance institutions of your city or of your region. I think that they normally have the best ones, but unfortunately, no, it's not on one website. Okay. There were many projects, but I think it's not realizable.
Maybe connected to that, like you said what we do is time management and research, and then you mean research for what for fundings there are, right? And do you have some tips for that?
Yeah.
Like for the research, some tips how to research that, like in the internet or like what you said now, like go to.
Yeah, sure, in the internet. So in the internet, and when you go to performances, wherever you are, you always look on the program, and then you look on the logos, and you look do I know all the sponsors and funders, or are they some I don't know? And when you don't know them, you go to their website and then you find out, they are not so well known and that they are not so common, but they could finance this and that. And that's the best research, I would say. And asking, and for sure on the internet, that's the best. And also for big funders to be in their list for newsletters. Because when it comes to new funding, new calls, new programs, then you are informed about this.
I have also a question considering who you are, because this is the application part, but then also I guess it's who you are as an artist. And we had a talk last month with a couple of people that they are in the residencies, and they were saying that it's very important that you have your artistic signature. That means that you create some certain type of work. Then there were other people that they were arguing that no, you can have a variety of work that you can do as long as you can explain why you want to do. And I wonder, what is the situation here?
Good question. So it's a bit linking to this idea of you give your motivation, you are saying you're coming from there and from that. But there's also the possibility to say, okay, I did this and that, but now, cut, I want something completely new. And this is also an argument why you're motivated and why it's interesting. And I think that's a bit answering your question. So for some, it's for some curators or curating people sitting in juries. For them, it's, I know this person is standing for this work, and I'm expecting now that the next production will a bit look like this or will be better, but in this way. So for sure it's this, but for others they have other tastes. I think there's no clear answer, but you have to have a reason, and then you explain it, and then it's clear for everybody.
I'm just wondering if it's better to always look for the right funders for you, or if you can change the way you write about your project according to the funder's objectives.
What do you mean by?
Because you also mentioned that we always look at the objectives of the funders and we go for the ones that fit to our projects. But can we also write about it in a way that will fit their objectives?
Yes, that's what I wanted to explain, that out of your concept you emphasize these things which are important for the funder. Remember this person which is important for you, but the Berlin wants to give money to the Berlin community, then you don't say this is the key person, you say my Berlin team is the key to realize the project, and there's someone else coming from abroad. For this funder, it's this. For another foundation, they are only interested in who you are working together. They want a very high standard of quality in your work, and then you say, it's this person is coming, and they will inspire all the others, etc. It's the same project, but it's a completely different argumentation. Does that answer your question? Yes. Okay, cool.
What about like pictures or video links or something like that? How?
Yeah, sure. I didn't speak about it, but that's clear. Everything which gives an insight in your work and what is helpful to understand who you are, for sure. Yeah, the more the better.
The more the better.
Yeah. Because then the jury can decide, do they look at 5 videos or, but normally, well, in the regulations, you see it's only 2. Or, well, you have this space for uploading something, etc. But yeah. Gesundheit. Are we ready? Thank you.
Thank you.